Okay, I'm reporting. Let's solve some equations today. Y'all can talk about that at the end of class.
I forgot about it.
I know, are you in?
What do you think about that rock climb thing we did? Let's take
Yeah, we did.
That was pretty fun.
We're going there next week.
Wait, can we go?
I'm taking my kids,
It's fun.
but y'all can come.
We're included in your kids. You spend time with us every day.
I do. I probably spend more time with y'all.
You do.
But you can,
You're so mean to
do you
it.
have
Wait,
any
is
other
this-
class every day besides us?
Y'all are the only one.
Is this 6-5?
This is 6-5, yes. Okay, y'all, we're solving for x. This problem is not bad at all. There's a few of these where it's a little bit trickier, but y'all, all we're doing is solving equations. So my x is under square root. I'm going to have to take care of that in a second. But look at that 3 out there. How would I move it to the other side? Yeah, I'm going to subtract it because it was positive. Okay, so that's my first step.
Oh, you talking about that?
That one. So I have the square root of 2x minus 3 equals 5. Is everybody good with our first step?
Yes.
Now, here's the problem.
I haven't written the problem yet. Hang on.
Oh, you just can't
Sometimes
read
it's
out.
easier if you follow along and then write the problem. Like, I'll stop and give you a few minutes to write the
That's what I do. I
problem.
just follow along.
So, I mean, honestly, it may I don't know. Everybody works different. But if you want to do that, you can. I would give you time. Okay. Now, I can't do anything else because of that square root. How do I get rid of a square root? What's the opposite? Squaring it. The opposite of square rooting is to square it. What I do to one side, I must do to the other. So watch. If I square that, the square root and the square cancel out. But I also must square my 5. Is everybody good with that? So over here, I get 2x minus 3. And over there, what do I get? What's 5 squared?
25.
Then what do I do?
Add 3.
Add 3.
What is it? This is what?
So it's going to be 2x
This is
equals
6, 5.
7.
So 28.
Oh, sorry.
2x equals 28. Then what do we do?
X equals 14.
You divide.
Divide by 2. And we get 14.
Yeah, it's
And
much simpler.
that's your answer.
Is that what we do?
Can you leave that up there for a second?
Yeah.
No, there's no way this is all we do.
I mean, well, like, this is our first, there's 11 problems on your sheet today, and this is our first 4. Or like this. But let me do a few examples, okay? Because you know sometimes it's like, wait, this one looks different. Why does this one look different? But it's the same concept. So I'll give you all a second. Yeah, you're basically just moving things around. And when there's a square root, what's the opposite of that? Squaring it. So you will have to square things.
So if you have to square, you have to square root.
So the opposite of square root is squaring. Square root of 4x plus 1. I'm just writing the next one down, but I know some of y'all are still copying that. On this one, what am I going to do?
You're going to do minus 5.
Well, it's add 5. So I'm doing the opposite. So I have the square root of 4x plus 1 equals 5. Now I can't go any further because of that square root there. So I must do the opposite
That's right.
and square both sides. So now I'll just bring down 4x plus 1 equals 25. Subtract 1. 4x is 24. Then we divide by 4, and we get x is 6. I'll give y'all a second to write that one down.
Is that minus 5 not?
Okay, so this next one, I have the 5 and the 7 to move. So I'm going to subtract my 7. Does everybody see that?
Mm-hmm.
So when I subtract 7,
Can you just add the 5 and the 7 together?
no, because the 5 is being multiplied to that x. It's like no different than on this one. If I had this, what would I do on this one? Subtract 7, divide by 5. What am I going to do on this one? Subtract 7, divide by 5. So I get, hold on, let me pause it. Okay, here we go. So I subtract 7 and I get 5 square root of x equals 1. Then what? Divide by 5, because I don't have my square root by itself yet. So I have the square root of x is 1 over 5. All right, and don't make this hard. What's the opposite of square rooting?
Square.
Square. So I'm going to square the 1 and the 5. Okay? So I get x equals, what's 1 squared?
1.
What's 5 squared? 25. There's your answer. Does that make sense, y'all? That one was just a tad bit different. Do we need one more like that? Are y'all ready to try some?
I think we should try.
Y'all want to try some? Okay. Let me pause
So
this.
wait, so you just move that 5.
On number 1, you're going to move your 3, and then you're going to divide by 3.
And put 3 under that.
Okay, and it may work out where you don't have a fraction. On number 4, you're also going to move your 1, and then what? Divide by 4. I'm thinking there's no fraction on that. Okay?
I need to really need to text Miss Stacy.
You need to text Miss Stacy as a more difficult way. But I'm going to have, this is like your next set of problems, if you want to look at those while I'm working this out. So the 2/3 equals 12. Okay, I'm going to do 2 things. Does everybody see that I can move that 3? It's on the outside of the parentheses. So sometimes, let's just go ahead and do that. And I'm going to go ahead and write this again, although I would have changed it already. But does everybody see I just divided by 3? I moved my 3 over here. So I get a 4. Now, this part, what they do, I don't know. They just multiply by 3/2 up here, and they put 4 to the 3/2 to get rid of their fraction. So anyway, what I'm saying is they would get x plus 1 equals 4 to the 3/2. That's what they do. What I do is I rewrite it. Like, so you could work it out this way. But I'm going to rewrite it as the cubed root of x plus 1 squared equals 4. Okay? Now, this is, and they do it, they'll get the same thing as me. To get rid of a cubed root, what do? I take the cube of it, right? Does everybody understand that? Cube and cube root. So I'm going to take the cube of 4. So what is 4 cubed? It's 64. And I'm left with x plus 1 squared. Now, y'all, if you want to, you could factor that out. You can go back to FOIL method, factor it out, and find your 2 answers. Or, what's the opposite of squaring something? Square root it. So I could just, so see, I'm kind of going back and forth. I can square root. So over here, I'm left with x plus 1. The square root of 64 has 2 answers.
8 plus positive negative.
8 and negative 8. Had I factored that, y'all, had I gone the factoring way, how many answers would I have gotten? 2 answers, a positive and the negative. So then what do I do to solve?
Just
Subtract 1.
7.
So I get 7. And over here I get negative 9. Okay? Is everybody good with that?
Yeah.
Now, this way, do y'all want me to work this one out?
Number 5.
So I'll
Just turn it out.
I'll just write up here, that's going to be the square root of 4 to the 3rd. That is the square root of 64, okay, which is 8 and negative 8. Do y'all see how I would have gotten the same thing? If you want to look over here, this is the way they did it in the book.
I think I like that.
This way?
Yeah, it's a lot.
So, okay, if you, to me, I like to change that to cube root of that squared, all right, and then I'm solving. What they do is they just do the reciprocal. Instead of 2/3, what do they put over here? 3/2. They just multiply by the reciprocal, all right, and that's the square root of 4 to the 3rd. Anyway, this is
I like the other way.
the same thing. I don't care which way you do that. If you want me to work this out both ways, I can, all right?
I'm going to try to do 5.
So, I'm going to do one more. If y'all want to start your 5 and 6, you can.
Well, like on number 5, what do we divide it by? You know, you divide it by
Number 5, you
You
don't.
start-
You just have to
start
start
with
with
the
the cube root
Yeah.
of x plus 5 squared. Or start like right here. I'm doing one more. I'm doing 3
What?
times the 5th root of x plus 1 to the 3rd power plus 1 equals 25.
So you're right.
So this one was not written as a fraction, but I think what they decided was to have you write it as a fraction if you wanted to. But I would subtract
So
1.
would you cube?
3 times the 5th root of x plus 1 to the 3rd equals 24.
Miss Amanda, could you cut that arrow on?
I will
Is that right if I have a big number?
divide. I'll look in a second. Divide by 3,
It is hot.
Raise a window.
How about
and I would get 8. Then on this one,
What is that?
this is just another problem I'm doing. I'm showing you on this one, instead of taking that to the 5th power and then taking the cube root of it, they would just write it as a fraction here. That's all they're showing you, is you can turn this into fractions or you can leave it the same.
I would get
So let me take this, hold on, let me finish this one and I'll help
I
y'all.
got 2 answers on each one of these.
8 to the 5th.
You still get 8?
If it's a, and then I would take the cube root. Now listen, if you take an odd root, you get 1 answer. If you take an even root, you get what? 2 answers. We've learned that in the past. Okay?
After you're done.
Yeah, so on mine, I would get 31. Like, look at this one. I took a cube root, so how I got 1 answer. Okay? Now, y'all want me to turn the air on?
yes?
And then I'll answer questions. Hold on.
You know, this math problem reminds me of the story of the walrus and the carpenter.
Can you go back to the top part?
On Alice in Wonderland?
Yeah. Oh, you know what I'm talking about? No way, you know what I'm talking about.
That's like a disturbing part of that movie
No,
to
it's
me.
not. It's like the best story ever.
Can you move
I'm
back
so
up to the
confused
top part first?
right now. I'm not even lying.
About the,
What you just
The
did.
walrus and
Okay.
the carpenter.
I wasn't sure if it was Alice in Wonderland and the Walrus. I don't know.
Can we watch that?
No.
Like
Okay,
that?
I have the square root of x plus 7 minus 5 equals x. Do y'all see how I have 2 x's now?
Oh, yeah.
Yes. So I still have to get that square root by itself. So what am I going to do with that 5?
Subtract it.
Well, it's minus 5, so I'm going to add it.
Yeah.
So I get my x plus 7 over here, my x plus 5 over here. Now, this is where it's a little changed, but you know how to do all this. How do I get rid of that square root? Stop the typing.
You square it.
You square it. The opposite of the square root is to square it. So watch. If I square this to make it go away, what do I have to do with this whole thing? Square it. So it's not just squaring a number, but I'm squaring this, right? So over here I get x plus 7. And what am I going to have to do over here?
Foil.
FOIL method. Okay? Remember that?
Yeah.
So it's...
It could be 2x.
So, well, I'm going to write it twice. I'm going to write x plus 5 times x plus 5.
What is the
What is what? Okay. So, what's
So
x
that's
times x when I'm foiling?
X squared.
X squared. Then I'm going to have x times 5. And then what am I going to have again? X times 5 or 5 times x. And then last, I have my 25. Y'all make sure you understand to this point what I've done. Is there anybody who doesn't understand this to this point? Okay, on this one, I can combine those two, right? What's 5x plus 5x? 10x.
Do we keep the x plus 7 here?
Yeah. Well, for now I'm going to need to move it over, right? I need to combine my like terms.
Hang on.
Okay, I'll stop for a second.
Why didn't, so x plus 5 squared, you just FOILed it, but why didn't you, like x plus, square root of x plus 7 squared?
Because
I
when
just-
you square
This,
it,
when you square a square root, that cancels out.
Oh, yeah, it's just itself.
Cause you get whatever it is.
Okay.
You know, just like square root of 3 times the square root of 3 is always 3. This is the same idea. I'm squaring a square root, so I just get what's underneath it. It cancels out. So now I'm going to move this x and 7 over here. I'm trying to put all my like terms together, Thad. So watch. I'm going to subtract my x and my 7. And do you see why I put them where I did? I put my x's together and I put my numbers together. So over here I get 0. It's kind of like the last chapter, but not near as hard.
Mm-hmm.
I've got my 0. I'm
So,
finding my roots.
Could we just
So now let's write it down. What do I get? X squared
0 equals s?
plus 3x.
Oh.
I'm 9x, sorry. I don't know where I got, I have no idea where I got 3. Yeah.
Whoa.
And then 25 minus 7 is 18. I have no idea where I got 3. So what do we do to solve for our 2 answers?
18.
No. We've solved for 0.
Found the X's.
We find our 2 x's. What do we do when it's that
Reverse.
reverse FOIL? We call it factoring.
I mean,
Yeah. We're going to factor it. 2 parentheses. And y'all, I'm going to keep it as simple for you.
We have
Okay.
to do all this on the 7, 8, 9.
I had to go to the bathroom bad. It's an emergency. I swear to God.
Okay.
Please.
Okay.
Oh, you gotta swear to God.
it's 6 and 3.
So what are the 2 things I'm multiplying to get 18 that add to 9?
6 and 3.
6 and 3.
Look at you being all smart quick.
So what are my 2? That's not my 2 answers. What are my 2 answers?
Negative 6 and negative.
-6 and -3. They are actually my possible answers. Okay? Are y'all listening?
I can't pay attention.
I know there's a lot of chit-chatting in the background and laughing. Okay. So, does this mean that these are my 2 answers, Tyler?
Yes.
Yes.
No. It doesn't. Because remember when I was going to introduce this, I said we could have an extra solution. So what do we have to do? We would have to plug it in at the beginning and see if they both work. Hey, y'all, let me finish. Y'all are talking way too much.
Hey.
Okay, so I said my 2 answers are -6 and -3. So what I'm going to do is plug them in to see if they work. So, what is
Negative 6 plus 7?
-6 plus 7? If I plug in the -6, would this end up equaling? What's -6 plus 7?
1.
1. What's the square root of 1?
1.
Is 1 minus 5 -6?
Yes.
No.
No. It's -4. So that one doesn't work. Now let me try the -3. The square root of -3 plus 7 minus 5 equals -3.
So that's equal to 4.
Yes.
So I get the square root of 4 is 2. Boys, I'm about to have to move somebody to the timeout chair. Is 2 minus 5 -3? Yes. So this one is the only answer. It will tell you, like on your study guide and test, solve for your answers, and then it'll say check for any extra.
You gave us 3 of these?
That's a lot.
So, well, let me do another one.
Together?
How about y'all just try number 7 for a second? Try number 7.
Can you read that off?
I'm going to write it out.
Negative 6 and then plus 1 would be plus 1.
Did I press
Wait,
record?
are you parentheses?
I did. All right, here we go.
That's wrong.
I'm going to go ahead and go over it. What I have to do
Yeah, I got it.
is square both sides. When I square this one, the square root will go away. But I also must square that, and that's FOIL method. 3x plus 7 equals, and y'all, I'm just going to write out what this is. This is FOIL, first, outer, inner, last. Okay? So x times x is what? X squared. X times -1, -1x. Same thing again, minus 1x. -1 times -1 is a positive 1. Then I'm going to bring this down, and I can combine those 2 x's. So I did, and I got 2x, -2x. All right, now y'all pay attention. I have to, and this is the same on all these, I'm going to move these things over to get a 0. So I'm subtracting my 3x. I put my like terms together. And I also have to subtract this 7. Put my like terms together. So over here, it kind of looks like the last chapter that we did now. I have 0 by itself. And then I have this right here. Now it's ready to factor, right? I have this trinomial, and I'm hoping, and I know I won't on the test, there won't be granny glasses or anything like that. I'm going to keep it just simple because there's already so much work that has to be done. So I just have x and x. Now think, y'all, what multiplies to give me -6?
Negative 6 and
Oh, that's what I meant. -6 and +1, +6, -1, and I could have these as well. That's what would multiply to give me negative 6. What adds to negative 5? Those. Negative 6 and positive 1. No, these don't add to give me 5. These don't add to give me negative 5. Those they can add, but they don't give me the right answer. So that's why it's these two things. Now remember, what are the two answers now? If I was to solve those out,
X
equals 6. Yeah, you would add 6. And then on this one you would...
Whoa, hang on just a second.
Okay.
You just do the opposite.
I thought in the little parentheses situation that you would put the opposite sign. So like it would be X plus 6 and then X
No.
minus 1.
Those are my answers.
Okay, well then where do we do that at? Because we did that at one point.
So watch. So what I get right here, do you understand why I put the minus 6 and the plus 1?
Yeah,
But-
I get it.
Okay,
but
now, where these other numbers come from is I set both of these things equal to 0.
No, I know
Oh.
where those numbers come from. I'm just wondering, because at one point we did X plus 6 if it was negative, and then we did X minus 1 if it was positive.
When we were dividing, is that when we were doing the synthetic division? Like when we would use the opposite of the root? Is that what you're thinking?
I don't know, but I know we did that, and that's how I've always done it.
The only time we used our root like and changed it was like for synthetic division. Is that's the only thing I can think of.
No.
But is everybody else
Yeah.
okay? So we're good with this.
I don't know.
All right. Now, I said though when the X is on both sides, girls, y'all listen. There could be an extra answer. So I need to plug both of these answers in and see what works. So go back to the very beginning. My equation was this right here. So what I would do is let me try 6. What is 3 times 6? 18.
I plugged it in. Hey,
And then I have...
plugged it into the other one. The other, like the 0 equals x squared minus 5x minus 6. And I got the same answer.
And both of them didn't work?
Yeah, both of them didn't work.
Okay. I don't know. I would just go back to the
Negative
original
1,
equation.
negative 1.
Because so much has changed right here, I'd be scared to do that.
I don't think that works.
I don't know that would give you the right answer every time.
It
You
did on the they did on the one yours did too. I did
on both of them?
Yeah.
Cuz
Because you put it in, you
No.
put negative 1 in, it comes out as negative 2.
because
If you put
this
6 in, it comes out as 0.
we change our equation so much right here that I'm scared that that might not work right every time. So I would plug it back in to the very first equation that they gave us on our like right here. That's the equation I would plug it back into to make sure it works. Because I can't tell you, I don't know if that's going to give you the right answer every time.
But why would that?
Because when I changed it, this is what gave me both of those answers. So I would assume at some point it's going to think, that equation's going to think both of those are going to work. I need to go back to my original equation before I squared all that stuff. I would just go back to the original equation just to be safe. I mean, if it works every time, I don't know. You could try it and see.
Okay, so 18 plus 7 is 25.
So I get square root of 25.
Is 5.
And 6 minus 1 is also 5. So that one works. Now let me plug in the negative 1. I'm going to go with my original equation. So what's 3 times negative 1?
Negative 3
So I get negative 3 plus 7
is 4.
equals. And then what's negative 3 minus 1?
Negative 4.
Did I say that right? No, I'm sorry, it's negative 1 minus 1.
Oh,
Sorry, that was my fault. I said the wrong number. Then what do I get over here?
4. Square root of 4, which is 2.
I get the square root of 4.
And that is not.
And 2 does not equal negative 2. So that's why that one doesn't work.
I was only man.
Okay. So you just get the one answer.
Repeat, I told him.
Let me pause this for a second.
Wait, did
Here we go. Looking at number 8. If I'm writing it, you're writing it.
back it off? You have to
So-
put your clothes on.
Look on number 8. Shh. I'm going to rewrite the first part and see if you can tell me if you understand that or not.
What about the 1/2?
Oh, wait, that's.
Anything to the 1/2 is the square root of it, right? So see, I'm just back. This is how I rewrote it.
You didn't say that. You just kind of wrote it.
I rewrote it. That's why I was saying, do you see where I got my number 8? No? Or yes, we do
I
now.
get it now.
Okay.
Were you here Tuesday?
So then what are we going to do to cancel out the square root? Square it. So I get 5 minus x over here. And over here, I'm going to have to square that. Do I need to write that out? Probably. Didn't we already? No, we did minus. So it's going to be x squared, because I'm foiling it. And then I have 1x. And then another 1x. And what's 1 times 1?
You're doing so quickly.
I'm going to stop. I'm going to let y'all catch up.
1 times 1 is 1.
And then subtract.
Did you figure anything else out about that?
Are we ready to keep going? Okay. Yes, no. I'm going to bring down my 5 minus x. And over here, I have my x squared. I can combine those two middle terms.
He's pretty sure it happened there.
No, it didn't.
Then we move our 5 and our x over.
I was like, I'm down with it.
So I'm going to subtract 5 and add the x. And I put them with my like terms. So I'm subtracting 5 here, and I'm adding my x here.
Wait, why are you adding it?
Because it was a negative, so I have to add it over. Does anybody have another question before I move on from there? Okay. I'm going to write it out. So I'm going to get x squared, a 3x, and minus 4. So I'm going to find factors of negative 4. I'm just going to list some over here. Negative 4 and 1, 4, negative 1, or negative 2 and 2. What adds?
4 plus negative 1.
Well, what adds to a positive 3 is a 4 and a negative 1. So when I factor those, I'm going to get a positive 4 and a negative 1. So what are my two possible answers?
Negative 4 and 1.
Negative 4 and 1. So then we take them and plug them back in the beginning, right?
Right.
So I would write, and I'm going to use this one.
4 minus 5 minus negative 4.
So yeah, I'll do it right here. The square root of 5 minus negative 4 equals
What is that? Square root of 1 is
x
1.
plus 1. Isn't that what's on the other side?
Yeah.
Yeah, negative 4 plus 1.
It's not equal 1, so that's not right.
So that's 9. Square root of 9 is 3. And what's negative 4 plus 1?
Negative.
Negative 3. Does that equal?
It worked again for me.
No. Okay. All right, now let me try the 1. What is 5 minus 1 and 1 plus 1? Well, 5 minus 1, I'm sorry. Square root of 4 is what? And that is
it might
correct.
work every time.
That's
using
my
that
answer.
other equation.
It definitely doesn't.
All that.
I just,
I did it on 4 problems and it's worked every
That
one.
just doesn't make sense.
I know, to me
Yeah, it
either.
doesn't.
Wait, what are you
Like,
doing?
It's not gonna.
Because the whole point in the book, and it says, when you raise each side of the equation to the power, that's when your solution,
How has it just been a coincidence it's worked 4 times in a row?
I don't know.
Well, didn't it not work one time?
It's very important that you check all solutions in the original equation. That's
I'll
what
use
it
but
says it in the
works
book.
the same, both of them.
I just
A correct solution will give a true statement. Extra solutions won't. Let me see if I have something else.
Can we quit after these?
What do we get? So 1 was our only answer. I didn't say that. So I want y'all, do I need to help y'all with number 9?
Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
Let me just, can I just like get y'all started on it?
Yeah.
Okay. So on number 9,
It's different.
yeah, that's why I want to just, so if I move my 2x, that's what I get. Now I'm going to help you with this next part. Let's square both of those things. This one's way easier. We don't have to do the FOIL method. So just watch for just a second. Does everybody understand how I move the 2x over?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So then I square both sides. And when you square 2, you get 4. And when you square an x, you get x squared. That's all that happens on that one. I didn't have FOIL method. I just squared 2 and x. So I got 4 and x squared. When I squared that side, that's what I got. When I squared this side, that's what I got. Now, what are you going to do to get it equal to 0? You're just going to subtract the 11x over and subtract the what? 3. Do I need to write that out? I'll write it, and then I'll make y'all finish.
Well, you can't
What are you gonna do?
Because
Yeah,
X squared
but
is-
it's going to look like a normal
So it's gonna go-
trinomial. So it's going to look just like that.
Wait,
But
what?
so on this one, I didn't FOIL. I just squared that. There was no FOIL method involved.
So it would be
So I get this. And then I have to move these over. So I just get minus 11x and then what? Minus 3.
11x squared or minus
It's just minus 11x.
Okay. And this is what I don't remember. When
Oh,
there's
this
a
is-
variable in front of the x.
I have a number in front of the x. Yeah, this is granny glasses.
Never
So
got
I'm
that.
not going to do that on the test. I'm not going to do that on the
I
test.
never ended up writing that.
So we do granny glasses?
I guess I'll just keep helping y'all. So
Negative.
negative 12x squared. What times what is negative 12x? That would add to negative 11.
Ooh, granny blessings.
Which one?
It's going to be negative 12 and 1x.
4x squared.
Because you have to, on granny glasses, this goes way back. There won't be one like this on the test. Okay? This is what I would get. So when I bring it down, I replace that. I get my 4x squareds here, and my 3 is down here. But now instead of writing negative 11x, I fill it in with these two things because that is negative 11x. I'm just putting the 1. You don't have to put the 1. Then what do I do? Do y'all remember grouping?
No.
No?
negative.
We group and factor out.
We just did this.
What can I factor
Oh,
out?
this is
Of
another
4x.
one.
A
I
4x.
filled out COVID test.
So what's left over?
X minus 3.
X
I think you missed it.
minus 3. What can I factor over here? Just the 1. You have to pull a number out. But yeah, you can't factor anything out. So we'll just put our 1 to hold its place. And I have the same thing. I must have the same thing. It must match. So what are my two answers?
4x plus 1 and x minus 3.
Okay. So now, what would my final number be? I have.
don't know.
You have to plug that in.
So
30.
wait. So just that one's easy. What's that one?
3.
3. And this one's gonna be negative 1/4
Whoa.
because you said it equal to 0. X minus 3 equals 0. What would x be?
Okay.
3. Same thing. If I set this one equal to 0, what would I do to solve?
Negative 1/4 or negative 0.25.
Yep, you would get a negative 1 divided by 4. So it's negative 1/4. Or negative 0.25. Then you would have to what?
Plug it
Plug
in.
it in.
Plug it in and see if you get both
We
answers.
should do 3 first since it's easy.
Yeah. I'm wondering if this one has, let me find what question it is.
33.
11x plus 3. That's 29.
Square 36.
Yeah. Okay, and it is just going to be 1. So we'll try the 3 first. This one's,
So x is 1.
so we would get, let's plug in our 3. I would get 33 plus 3 equals 6. Is that true? The square root of
Yes.
33 plus 3? Yes, that is true. So our answer is 3. And you would go back really and try negative 1/4, but I'm going to go ahead and tell you it doesn't work. If you plugged it in, it
Oh
wouldn't
yeah,
work.
it'd be really messy.
I mean, you could, yeah, and you could probably tell that that's not going to work. All right, the last part.
We have 5 minutes to talk.
Well, if y'all aren't coming tomorrow, then y'all have to do this at home, or I can just work through the last 5 minutes. Okay.
Fast.
All right. So I have. How about I do number? You want me to do number 10 or 11?
11.
Okay. Okay then. I'm gonna do rewrite it. Is everybody good with me rewriting it with the square root?
Oh, yeah,
I
this is-
guess so.
This is the same.
7x plus 6 square root
Yeah.
of 9 plus 4x. Yeah, a little bit different. What am I gonna do with both of those?
You gotta add them.
I'm gonna square them, right? To
Multiply
what-
them.
Yeah, you're gonna
So when I square it, the good news is that, what did they do here? Oh, theirs wasn't as easy. This one's easier than the ones in the book. If I square both sides, what happens to the square roots?
Gone.
Both of them go away. Actually, that's nice. So what do I end up with?
7x.
This right here. And then, let's see, what do I do from there? I'm trying to
Combine
find.
like terms. Yeah, combine them 7 and 4x.
Subtract 6 and subtract. Yeah, can we shut this one down?
Oh wait, are we trying to get x on one side?
Yeah, so you're just solving for x. Sorry, I've left y'all hanging. I'm just looking for the problem. I can't even find the
X
problem.
equals 1. No.
The square root of 7x plus 6.
Please just take your hoodie off because then
We have 3 minutes.
37.
Oh,
Okay, alright, now then what do? I subtract 4x.
Correct.
So I get 3x plus 6 equals 9. Then what? Subtract 6.
3x equals.
Whoa, where did 9 go? Hang on. Hang on.
Well, they said hurry.
I got confused there for a second.
Divided
Time
by
down.
Divide by
X
3.
equals 1.
X equals 1. We're,
Okay.
so, and we should check it to make sure it works. Anytime you raise the equation to the power like that, you would check it. Y'all, in this case, it does work, though. But you could just plug it in, and you would get the square root of 13 equals the square root of 13. Is that true? Yeah, it is. All right, same thing on number 10. You're going to square each side, which is super easy because you just basically cancel out the square roots, okay? And that's all
Subtract x.
that we're going to do before break.
Then you subtract x.
So 2x
So
equals
2x